Hey, John.
Eric, good night. How's it going tonight?
It continues to go well.
Well, it does continue to go. It does continue to go.
Yes, it does.
I don't know. I'm having a hard time adjusting to daylight savings. Getting dark.
Getting
so
dark
early.
at 4:00 is it's a little rough because it's funny. My boy and I today were going to do something outside, and we were busy doing some other chores inside. And he was like, "Well, let's go out at 4. Let's go out in like an hour, and we're going to move some rocks around in the garden." And
Okay.
I'm like, "Oh, it's going to be dark at 4:00. We need to go now." I mean, it was like 3:00, and I'm like, "I just realized it's going to be too dark." He's like, "We could wear headlamps. Come on, Dad, suck it up." Like, okay, moving rocks in the dark does not sound fun.
Don't stub your toe. Don't accidentally fall.
Yeah.
Like two people kind of things. Carrying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be awkward in the dark.
Yeah, and we got to smooth out the ground first and kind of make room for where we're going to put the rocks. And the shortened daylight meant less things I got done today. Today was a just do stuff around the house all day day. So, which included or maybe I should say, was initiated this morning by a comment from another member of the household that, hey, there's mold growing in the wall by the kids' shower in the kids' bathroom. Have you seen it? The wall is kind of squishy. And I'm like, well, hold on. No, I have not seen this. I do not go into the kids' bathroom, mostly because it's a disaster area anyways.
Hazard area.
But I'm like, so how long has that been going? I don't know, a few months. Okay, we have had conversations in the past about things that we should tell Dad sooner than later. This is on the list, people. So, I was going to text you a picture, but part of my day was, removing drywall, and of course it's on a corner, so the metal bead, I had to cut through the metal bead, and it goes all the way to the floor. So now I have to replace tile. Serenity now. So yeah, I have a nice hole in my. So if you have any short scraps of green board,
I do not have any short scraps of green board that I have around.
I need you
have to go buy a 10-foot section.
I know, and I only need 3 inches by 3 feet, 2.5 feet by 3 inches.
I think they have patches.
Yeah,
I'm virtually certain they do.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to go buy a. Anyways, right now it's just bare wall, and so it's on the to-do list to fix. So that was how my day started.
So you did a little bit of destruction to kind of see how bad the damage was?
Well, yeah, first it was very easy because I just kind of stuck my thumb, and sure enough, the drywall had rotted enough that it was just squishy in spots. And so I cut a little bit out, and it was still, and so I kept cutting higher and higher and lower. So it goes all the way to the floor, and it's about 2.5 feet up before I got to drywall. So
where's the water coming from?
So it's right out the corner of the bathtub, and I can totally see it's in a spot where if the shower was not it's a tub shower, and if the tub shower
curtain.
It's not a curtain, it's a sliding door, but yeah, same thing. If the door was not completely shut all the way, I can see how water would kind of splash down in there because it's on the shower head side, and I can totally see. So part of me too is excited because I'm like, I can 3D print a part to help solve my little corner problem, which is what I think it is. So right now there's a screw kind of screwed into the wall and a towel dangling from the screw. And I'm like, kids, after you shower, check that towel. If it's wet and you swear you had the door closed all the way, check your door. So we're doing some testing before I actually finish the repair to see if it's. But fortunately, once I got everything off, there didn't look to be any serious damage. It was just kind of moldy in the drywall.
It wasn't like
it wasn't all the way through to the wood
or anything like that.
No, it looks. Yeah, everything was dry. Just like the corner where the shower and the tub meet is kind of where it has slowly dissolved the drywall. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Bathroom paint is supposed to be good for that too.
Well, the paint
surprising.
Yeah, the paint I think was fine. It was just also right on the edge where the caulking and the it's tile all the way up. So where there's not caulk, it's grout. The grout line where it met it was an awkward corner, and so there's only, I could see how it happened.
That's exciting.
It's fine. Yes, exciting is one word for it.
By exciting, I don't mean fun exciting.
Yeah.
That's funny. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
Yeah. Today being Veterans Day. So for one kind of cool thing, obviously this won't be out for people to listen to on Veterans Day, but we're recording it on Veterans Day. My wife's sister, she's older than us, and older than my wife, but so her father was in World War II and, landed on D-Day, and had, she saw a picture of him today for the first time. Like, it was just a day or two after D-Day. He was sitting up with three other guys. The four of them were kind of sitting around a gun emplacement up on the top of the beach at Normandy, and kind of looking back on the beach. And so it was the first time we'd seen that. And that was kind of a very, very cool kind of Veterans Day moment for us, which was cool. But anyway, I also kind of had a day around the house, mostly around the house today, I guess. The only fun thing I did, though, is I installed a Wi-Fi light switch in my shop, so I can turn the lights on and off using the Amazon in a tube from anywhere. So that, I've left it on a few times, and this is the time of year where actually, I don't know. You can't do anything without the lights on out there. So if I forget to turn them off, now I can just say, "Hey, yo, dingus, turn off my shop lights," which is kind of cool. So, and I just had the switch sitting here. I think I bought it on Black Friday last year, like just as a that's a good deal. I'm sure I'll do it for something. Maybe I install it in my office or something, and. A year later, I finally got around to doing it. I've been looking at it on my desk here for the last while, going, I really need to install that somewhere. It's not going to do any good just sitting on my desk. So that was kind of my fun thing. Although, speaking of it being dark, though, I had to have a headlamp on, because even though it was 3:30 or something like that, it was still dark enough that when I had to have the power off to be able to replace the switch. I couldn't see in there without a headlamp on. So
right.
Winter.
Yeah.
So I guess
that'll make it nice, because I usually forget to turn off lights in places after I've already got my pajamas on and I've been in bed long enough that it's now warm.
Exactly. We've got a lot of those plugs around the house. That's kind of like our most home automation-y thing. We don't have any of the, Philips Hue lights or any of that kind of stuff. But we have a lot of switches. Because we have a lot of our lights, plug into plugs. And so it's pretty easy to replace them with smart plug.
Right.
And then say, hey, turn on upstairs, or hey, turn on this light, or turn on that light.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the other fun thing I was going to say in starting here is that we went to the coast on Sunday. We went down to Lincoln City to walk on the beach.
Right.
Weather-wise, it looked like it was supposed to rain all this week, although today seemed pretty decent. And so Sunday we were like, let's go, which I'm sure there were a lot of other people that had done that too, because there were a lot of people at the beach. But
right.
There's my dogs.
They find a coyote.
Yeah, probably. I mean, that's what she barks at. Anyway, but it was a nice day. I'm feeling like I should have probably just stayed home given the rise in COVID cases that are everywhere. But we were pretty good. We did eat out, which was probably the biggest thing. Restaurants, at least in Oregon, are still open, and they're every other table. Everybody's masked. Right. All the serving staff are masked and everything else. But that's probably gonna. If cases keep going up, something's gonna have to happen about that again. We'll have to see.
Well, my boy and I think last week I mentioned we were going to possibly climb Mt St Helens.
Gonna try, yeah.
And we ended up going. The weather did not cooperate, and we did not want to hike in 10-degree snow weather. Oof, but no. We did decide. We went up to the Johnston Ridge Observatory, which is on the north side of Mt St Helens. Normally, the climbing route you go is from the southeast side of the mountain.
Okay.
So we went around, and by the time we got up, the bridges were snowed over, and we got a little fishtaily a couple times.
Wow.
Before I was like, I should put this in 4-wheel drive.
That's what it's there for.
And by the time we got up there, it was snowing, not hard like people think of hard snow, but it was snowing. And we started hiking a little bit, and we're like, we're cold.
Maybe not.
We're going to go back. So we took pictures of us with Mt St Helens in the background. I think I tweeted a picture of it, so you should go see it.
I saw a picture. I think I liked it.
Yeah, it was. You couldn't see Mt St Helens because of the snow and the overcast, but trust me, it was in the background. So we tried, but.
Yeah, well, there's a reason why it's free to climb after November 1st, right?
Yeah, exactly. Although I did have some friends who had done it that first Sunday, and another set of friends that did it that first Monday, and when the weather was still nice, and they said it was awesome. But apparently everybody had the same idea. He said, I had never seen that many people on the trail. We were constantly passing people or being passed by people the whole way. Maybe they'll extend the dates, because the whole point of having permits is to limit the number of people up there. So anyways, I guess, we should move on to follow up.
Well, okay. Yeah, I did throw one article in follow up here because I thought this was funny. Although I honestly don't remember. I'm sure you remember what you said last week. We were talking about ransomware,
honest criminals,
and you're like, yeah, you said something about you have to believe that they're an honest crook, that you're going to pay them for the ransomware, or you're going to pay the ransom and then expect that they really actually give you back and delete your data,
right?
And so, like, literally the next day, there was this article on ZDNet that says ransomware gangs that steal your data don't always delete it. and
of course not.
You think? So yeah, I honestly, I don't remember if I left your comment in the edit last week or not, but this is I mean, you think?
Yeah, if you'll pay once, why wouldn't you pay a second time? They're going to try. I mean,
we'll delete it this time. Really. Yeah. Or, I mean, in reality, they probably, I don't know how often they blackmail the company twice, but I bet you they turn around and sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's mention of the leak sites too. for where they're publishing for people that don't pay the ransom. Anyway,
Right.
I saw that article right afterwards, and I was like, okay, I gotta at least throw that in follow up. I'll put the link in here. But yeah, the Catalan's tweet was something along the lines of the most no expletive headline that you'll read all day. So anyway,
yeah.
That was my one piece of follow up.
Alrighty.
So,
well, I stole the art. Well, I didn't steal it.
No,
I put it in the Slack. I think 12 minutes before you put it in the Slack. So I decided this was my article. I beat you to it by 12 minutes.
And I clearly didn't notice that you had already posted it 12 minutes before, which just says how I use it. It's it's a write only medium.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I do the same thing. The title of the article is Play Store Identified as Main Distribution Vector for Most Android Malware. And kind of going back to your previous comment, you think?
Really?
Yeah. So researchers looked at 34 million Android application installs for about 8 million different unique applications.
Wow.
To be redundant there. So they classified things as Android malware, and then they started talking. At least in the article, it mentioned unwanted applications, and that got me thinking. Well, there's a lot of applications that are in that gray area where they're not necessarily malicious, but they're unwanted.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was hoping to find data somewhere in the article about what percentage was actually malicious versus what percentage was what they referred to as PUPs, or potentially unwanted programs.
Yeah.
And I didn't find it in the article. The article did just kind of gave the high level, the research team looked at different categories, where they were installed from. Was it the Play Store? Was it an alternative third-party app store? Was it, side-loaded, things like that.
Right.
And their results showed that in their statement, at least in the article that we'll link, which also has a link to the full research paper, was that about 67% of malicious app installs came from the Google Play Store. So 2/3 of malicious app installs.
Right.
And that's when it got into what I started digging into the article, the actual research paper.
Right. I mean, that totally makes sense though, right? Because the vast majority of people are not sideloading apps, even on Android.
Correct.
I mean, I hear not so much these days, because I think almost everybody's kind of in their lane. If they're an Android user, they've been using Android for a long time, and if they're an iPhone user, they're well into Apple's walled garden. There's very few people, Eric, that cross the streams.
Cross the streams.
But even though the ability to sideload apps is touted among people that I talk to a lot on, or for one of the main reasons that they appreciate Android is that, Apple's not totally controlling what happens on your phone. The vast majority of users are I'm sure not.
Still just getting it from the Play Store.
They're just click, right? They're not going to figure out how to go install an app from a third-party store, sideload something or something like that. I mean, honestly, it wouldn't have surprised me if that number was higher than 67%. 2/3 is significant, but I'm actually surprised it's that low.
Yeah, well, I guess they looked at it through 12 different ways you can install apps. So 2/3 of them were the Play Store. Everything else, you can download apps directly from websites and install them. You can yeah, there's just tons of different ways you can install apps on Android that just aren't available on iOS, as you mentioned. But the thing that I was trying to, so my skepticism radar, or started going off with, really, there's that many, because Google touts their Play Protect. They do a lot of scanning of APKs, Android applications that are launched and available on the App Store or on the Play Store. So you would, if you just read the statement as is, it sure sounds like that what they're doing is not doing a very good job. And the numbers that get into later is, it's the unwanted app prevalence was 10 to 24%.
Wow.
Of all the apps that they looked at on the Play Store. That seems like a very large number.
That's huge.
Of that 67% from Google. So this is where I started to think, well, if they're starting to include things like potentially unwanted programs, things that are not malicious per se, probably the majority of these apps are things that are not necessarily malware. They're not maliciously doing things to your device, stealing your data or whatnot, but they're doing things that are in the shady area. A lot of the adware type things are in that bucket. So I was combing through the PDF, the research article, to figure out what they say, and they do talk a little bit about the differences between them. They use VirusTotal and the hash of the Android applications to determine what do third-party AV engines say about the devices or about the applications. And they had some numbers. If at least 4 of them, I think, referred to it as malware instead of just a potentially unwanted program, then they flagged it as malware. And if not, then they flagged it as a PUP, a potentially unwanted program. And so, and they make some comments here about, the issue with malware and calling anything that's a PUP as a malware is because it's not necessarily malicious, and maybe it's not unwanted. Maybe somebody actually does want whatever it's doing, even, with what it's doing. So I finally found in the article, which they have, that their classification has determined that 60% of the unwanted numbers that they're talking about are in the PUP category, potentially unwanted, and 40% are actual malware.
Again, that's higher than I would have thought.
Exactly, which still sounds quite high. I think one of the notes in the article was, I think we requested feedback from Google, who has not responded yet. So I'm going to guess Google may, now that this is public and it was just published today, I'm going to guess Google will probably have a more detailed answer at some point. We'll throw this in follow-up, but that sure seems like a lot of malware, and I'm going to guess Google will take issue with kind of how these things were classified. So that was my article today. I anticipate seeing more of this, but this just goes to the point as well that even if you're downloading stuff through the Play Store, which you think should be just fine, pay attention to what it's doing and what permissions it's asking for, and make sure you really do need that force screensaver app or whatever it is.
Right. No, I was totally I'm in the iPhone ecosystem, but even I think it was just last night, I was looking for the Google Translate app because I actually I my son had a T-shirt on that had some Japanese on it, and I wondered what it actually said. And I'm like, well, here, let's grab the app and try and translate it.
Right.
Which it did not happen. It didn't actually work at the end of the day. I was disappointed. But, I searched the App Store for Translate, or I think I might even said Google Translate. And of course, the first one that came up was not Google. It was some other no name. I was like, no.
Yep.
And, because it's a gradient, of good apps, okay apps, shovelware apps, scammy apps, there's a ton of apps
Copycat
that
apps
try
are
and
the big one
capitalize
too.
on a name. Yeah, I mean, if something's popular and they may not actually even do whatever it is they're claiming to do, just to, they're trying to get a copy in. I remember listening to a podcast, sometime in the last month or two, about, it was the David underscore David Smith, probably Under the Radar, where he was talking about his widget kit, I think.
Widget Smith.
Widget Smith, thank you.
Yes.
And, which he had ready to go when iOS 14 came out to do widgets, and kind of totally blew up on him and got, super popular. I don't know how many downloads, a lot of downloads. And he said that he in the first couple of days, he had to, Apple had to take down a couple of people that were, putting scammy apps in the App Store that didn't actually even do what they claimed to do. They were just kind of trying to ride the coattails of a popular search term. Anyway.
Good times.
I need to clean up my phone. Anyway. All right. So I pulled out 2 topics this week. The first one is another ransomware. I'm sorry to say, it's so prevalent at the moment, but this is the Campari Group, which is a liquor group. Let's see. It says Campari Group is behind liquor brands Aperol, Sky, Grand Marnier, I don't know how to pronounce it, and Wild Turkey. The company announced on November 3rd it was the victim of a November 1st malware attack. So this is one that it sounded from the article like their IT, once they realized it was happening, kind of got limited the damage, seemed to be restoring things okay. The impression I got from the article, at least, was that they had a good backup strategy in place. They wouldn't have to pay the ransom to recover their systems. But in the note that the scammers gave the sort of the ransom note, it said they were able to steal 2 terabytes of data, which, depending on what that is, it's a lot of data, no matter what you've got. So let's see, I pulled out a quote from the ransom note. We have breached your security perimeter and that's their grammatical error, and get access to every server of the company's network in different countries across your international offices. It goes on to detail the types of data compromised, including accounting files, bank statements, employee personal information, and more. So, and they posted documents to a leak site that included a contract between Wild Turkey and Matthew McConaughey, which is, sort of to prove that they actually had something.
Right.
So, so this, it's more of ransom for doxing than, system availability seemed like from the article. Let's see, a couple other things in there. It looked like it was Ragnarlocker.
Which right there, I don't understand why no one just called that Ragnarlok. To go the Ragnarlocker just seems Just call it Ragnarlok. That just seems more entertaining, more Marvel, more catchy.
I did I tell you I just rewatched Ragnarok not too terribly long ago.
That's still one of my
I
favorites.
love that movie. It's so tongue in cheek.
Yes.
It's hard to kind of put that in the context of all the others, and yet they pulled it. I could have failed so badly, and the fact that it didn't just makes it that much better. I don't know. Yeah.
Yep.
So tongue in cheek.
Sidebar.
Anyway,
Well
sorry,
done.
sidebar. So let's see. Ragnarlok, relatively new malware written in C and C++. First observed in late 2019. The Campari compromise looks almost identical to the Capcom Ragnarlok attack, according to this source. Or I didn't copy out what this person was, analyst, forensic person. So there wasn't a terrible lot more of information in this article, other than saying that the ransomware attacks have been on the rise since the beginning of the pandemic, which it sure seems like there's been a whole lot. And then in July, they referenced SonicWall's 2020 cyber threat report, which said ransomware attacks have more than doubled over last year. Mm-hmm. So I don't have data about that, but that certainly feels right. So, So that was my first one. My second article this week is about iOS 14.2. Have you patched to 14.2 yet?
I was actually just going to look because I missed this one somehow.
I'm looking myself.
No, I have not. I'm only on 14.1. I'm hitting update right now.
Oof, look at that. I also am on 14.1. Okay, well,
1.1 gigabytes. Yeah.
Okay, well, I have such bad Wi-Fi that I cannot possibly download the update and record a podcast at the same time. But I will be updating later tonight. Oh, so what is this? So these are 3 iOS 0 days that are. Well, there wasn't data in this article, but it says in the headline that they are being exploited in the wild. So that's why 14.2 was kind of rushed out, and they've also been backported to older phones. The fixes went into iOS 12.4.9. So if you have an older phone that can't come up to 14.2 or 14 iOS 14, they did a patch for those two. And I don't remember. I think it's the iPhone 6 that is the breaking point there. Something like that.
Yeah.
But so Google, here's a quote. According to Shane Huntley, director of Google's Threat Analysis Group, the 3 iOS 0 days are related to the recent spat of 3 Chrome 0 days and a Windows 0 day that Google previously disclosed over the past 2 weeks. So,
similar type of attack.
Similar. There isn't enough data in here because they've released enough data to say they're there, but there isn't like a reproduction of them yet. There isn't. At least I didn't see the kind of details you'll normally see when something's gone past the 90-day window. But that also goes to show that there's I guess you might call them side channel attacks, but different platforms can be vulnerable to the same types of attacks, like you just said, and there's a lot of sharing that goes on between platforms, even when those platforms are different.
Because so much is dependent on various open source projects.
Yeah, exactly. So, and the first one in here, CVE 2020-27930, Let's see, a remote code execution issue in the iOS font parser component. Another font one.
Nice.
So let's see. The second one is 27932, and that is, it just has a privilege escalation in the iOS kernel that lets attackers run malicious code with kernel level privileges. And then the third one is 27950, memory leak in the iOS kernel that allows attackers to retrieve content from kernel memory. So all three pretty serious. I didn't actually click through to see what their CVSS score was or anything like that, but there was a comment at the end that said all three bugs are believed to have been used together, part of an exploit chain allowing attackers to compromise iPhone devices remotely. So, patch.
Hi. All right. Well,
yeah.
Something fun?
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Let's do it. What'd you bring me?
So my something fun isn't necessarily something fun, but I couldn't get away with not mentioning this one.
Okay.
But I'll start with I finished reading book 2 of the Lady Astronaut series. I really enjoyed it. They're now on Mars. So
awesome.
It's the mid 60s and they're on Mars. So yay.
Isn't that
cool? Yay Earth. So my something fun, Alex Trebek passed away this week from pancreatic cancer, which is sad. But my something fun is go and rewatch Jeopardy. I think they have a lot of the episodes on Netflix. You can go back and watch episodes from the 80s. You know, when it started. I think it started out in 1984. My wife has been a huge fan of Jeopardy. We've watched Jeopardy for as long as I can remember. It's just I don't know. It's a fun show. There's a bunch of tributes to Alex Trebek floating around the internet now as well. You know, one's about, you know, his interactions, the fun parts where he goes and talks to the contestants. So there's my something fun. Go back and watch some Jeopardy. It's timeless.
You know, I remember him hosting even in the 90s.
Yeah.
So, I did not realize it started in 84 though. Wow.
It's been a while. It has been a while.
36 years. That's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I did hear about his death, and that is, he will be missed.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, what are they going to do? What are they going to do for Jeopardy? Do you know yet?
So they have not announced who they're going to have replace him, but they've speculated on 4 different people. So if you want to find it, one of them that they've speculated is Ken Jennings, who had won. He's like the winningest player on Jeopardy ever, and he's apparently currently a consultant for Jeopardy. So he works for the program. That would be an interesting one. And then there's a few other people that they mentioned, maybe to take over hosting. But he had recorded enough episodes through December, so you can still see Alex Trebek up through this December, doing his weekly show.
Okay.
So, anyways.
Okay.
Go watch Jeopardy. It's fun.
Well, that's a depressing something fun. Okay. I do like Jeopardy, though. I do like Jeopardy. All right. Well, I brought a couple of something funs. The first thing I got to at least mention is, hey, Pfizer might have a vaccine. There's a lot of good news this week about the potential vaccine. So, fingers crossed. We'll kind of hope for that to happen. And although I watched the Sunday morning, I think it's the Sunday morning show on CBS this past weekend, no, maybe it was 60 Minutes. I'm sorry. It was some show where they were interviewing the people in the military that are going to be responsible for distributing the vaccine, once there's approval. And they were very careful to not say how many doses they're going to have. Although they did interview one lady in, I want to say it was Pennsylvania, but that, was talking about how many doses they expected to get kind of upfront for the high risk, like, healthcare worker, I think are, on the top of the list. And I want to say she said something that they have something like 400 or 500,000 healthcare workers in the state, and they expected to get 50,000 doses. So
it'll be a while.
Yeah, and that particular one, it has to be super cold. It takes two injections at a certain time, but still, the amount of work that has happened in the last 11 months is astonishing. So anyway, that's cool. That wasn't really my something fun though. I had two other something funs. The first is I thought was funny. The Company's House. So I think that is UK government or company registration. Company's House forces business name to change to prevent security risk. So this is, they basically, it wasn't a little Bobby Tables because it wasn't a SQL injection. This is a cross-site scripting. The original name of the company was, end quote, greater than, less than, script, source equals, HTTPS, and then a website, greater than sign, LTD. So basically it was finish your quote, do a script to inject, if you don't have, if you don't have your CORS policy, right, your cross origin policy, it'll happily go fetch this script. And, hypothetically, this particular script didn't do anything malicious, just put up a dialogue. But yeah, so somebody actually registered. It sounded like from the
just
article, somebody registered that name. They were a web development company, I think. Somebody registered that name as their company name, and there was at least commentary in the article that it sounded like it was discovered to be a problem, aka at least one company, and like I said, there wasn't data in the article, but somebody that ingested this Company's House database of companies clearly had a problem. So might want to fix that. Can never trust user input. Never trust user input. So, so it said, quote, Company's House has retroactively removed the original name from its data feeds, and all documentation referring to the original moniker now simply reads, quote, company name available on request. Sorry.
I did, like in the article too, it mentioned that the company is now legally known as that company whose name used to contain HTML script tags LTD.
Yeah, I forgot to pull that in, but yeah, a little bit of Prince homage there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I thought that was humorous. That kind of gave me a laugh.
That was funny.
And then a sort of more serious something fun. A friend of mine down at work sent this to me just this morning. Actually, this is a medical article where they're attempting to regrow nerve cells, or not regrow, attempting to control the growth pattern of nerve cells by laying down essentially a printable ink in a 3D structure. So, there's lots of things where they're trying to, regrow bone or, for injuries and things like that. And so they're basically, it's like an inkjet. They're printing
the nerve
a conductive ink that sort of lays down as part of the scaffold that will encourage nerve growth. So here's
encourage nerve growth along the path of the ink, or
yeah, exactly. So if maybe I'll try and throw, or I'll ask you to throw the picture in here. But if you look in the article, kind of halfway down, it shows nerve growth without the scaffold, is all over the place. And whereas with it, when it follows the link or the ink, it's much more concentrated right where the ink was. And the important thing is that, as your nerves are regrowing to, match up, because of an injury or something like that, if the nerves grow outside of where they need to, you can maintain higher sensitivity or, problem. There can be problems. There was a quote in here, but I didn't pull it out about, what can happen if the nerves don't grow exactly where they want to. But anyway, so this is Bioconductive Ink. So here's the quote. Ink. Nerve cells need to be meticulously guided to regrow between the broken ends of a nerve. If they just build up anywhere, it will cause more pain or sensory problems. With our bioconductive ink, we can concentrate the neuron growth where we need it. Our research is in the early stages, but with further development, we hope one day to enable damaged nerves to be fully reconnected to improve the lives of millions of people worldwide.
Also cool.
Isn't this cool?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I thought this was a cool article. So we'll throw that in there. That's my something fun.
Your 3 something funs.
Okay, 3 something funs.
To my 1, not quite fun, but it's all good.
It's all good. Yeah. All right. Well, in closing here, I'm gonna put out a pitch again. If you haven't and you're enjoying this, go leave us a rating on either the Google Play Store, Spotify, or the Apple Podcasts. It would be muchly appreciated. So
mostly.
Oh well, sorry. We talk incorrect around this house.
I like muchly. Muchly works for me.
I'm speaking ironically. Sorry. That's a Good Will Hunting joke. Oh, it's okay.
Alrighty.
All right. Getting punchy. It's pretty late.
Have a good night, John.
All right, Eric. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Bye.